Welcome back to another color grading tutorial. In this tutorial, you'll learn some really cool tips to control lots of different aspects to your image and make it look and feel the way that you want. So this is not how the footage originally looked. We can see the original footage. It's very washed out, straight out of the camera, and it doesn't have a lot of color. So we want to make sure we can start controlling things to make it look more epic. So there's three techniques that I like to use, and the first one is a contrast. The next one is a mask, in this situation to control the color of the sky, and then another mask which is using a selection to select just the grass and manipulate it. So first off, I like to use RGB curves. They're pretty cool for grading and a bunch of other stuff. So first thing to do is to get your contrast back into the image. And I like to get the RGB parade, the reference monitor. So this is advanced stuff, but it's good to learn. So for example, at this bottom line here is when your blacks, for example, if I bring this down and it touches the 0, that means that your blacks are still, you can still see a little bit of detail in the blacks, but they're just sort of at the bottom line. But if you go too far, you'll start to see the image gets just super dark, and that's what we call crushing the blacks. So we like to have a bit of detail in the blacks, so just bring it down just so it touches 0. And that's looking good. And then also the highlights usually can't recover too much detail, but you can just make it look a little bit nicer or a little bit softer by bringing the highlights down. You can see that they're coming down there. And then I'm just going to raise the image a little bit so it's a bit brighter. Okay, so that's the first step, is to bring the contrast in. So let's see before and after. So we just get a little bit more sort of power look to the image. And next step is what I really like doing recently, which is to use the mask tools in Premiere. In this case, we're getting the old rectangle, and I'm just feathering that out. And now I'm expanding it. Somewhere about there. And so what we want to do with this one is to sort of control the sky and make it look a bit more richer. So we're pulling the exposure down even more. And now I'm just playing with the colors until I can see something I like. There's a lot of different ways you can go about doing this. And again, it just comes down to your personal preference, whether you want like a warm sky. And this is pulling the blue down, so you're putting yellow into the image. And you can go too far with this and things start to look quite unrealistic. So it's good to be subtle. And if I was going for the look that I was doing previously, I think I was pulling the green around to get more of a sort of purple in the sky. So again, it's all about just tweaking the settings until you find something you like. And there's no right or wrong. And with color grading, you sort of just move it around until you feel, oh, you know, that feels about right. Okay, so let's go with that for now. Just see what the other settings do. And as you're moving things around, of course, you'll just push something here and there, and you might find, oh, that's great, or that does something really weird. All right. So that's the second step, is to put one of these windows in. So we turn it off and we turn it on. So you can see it's just adding a bit of color to the sky, a bit of interest. And the third technique is to control the grass. Now this one's a bit of a complicated one to get your head around, but I'm just going to do it anyway, and I'll give you more detail in another tutorial. So this is about selecting just the green. So we're going to go into secondary color correction and use an eyedropper, select the grass, show mask, and then whatever is white is whatever we're selecting. And I just like to use the add to the selection. You can see we've added more colors that it's going into the selection, adding more and more. And then we go down to these three things, which give us even more control of the selection. So I just move the sliders around until I can see it's selecting the stuff that I want. And when you think you've got it just about right, and you find that the selection might select too much. So you'll be affecting too much of the image. So you can just bring it back. So that's basically selecting the grass, and you can see there's a few black spots in there. So we just want to smooth that over. So you can just go to softness and then soften that mask out. All right, so now we should have control of the grass. So if I want to bring down the brightness of the grass, I just go down, and you want to watch out if your masker is not good, you get these kind of results where it's all sort of splotchy. And you can bring up the brightness of the grass, and of course you can play with the colors. So you can change the hue, and if you wanted warmer grass, you could go something like that. You can really stylize your image by controlling different sections of the image with these three types of tools: contrast, masks, and then mask color selections. You can really control a whole lot of the image. So I'm just going to find something that I like. Okay, so that's cool. So that's the selection. So we turn it off, and the grass is dark, and we're just bringing up the brightness. So it's almost like a HDR, high dynamic range look. And now I'm going to turn off the three tools. So we've got the color selection, and we've got the window on the sky, and then we've got the contrast. So that's the difference. And we bring them back in. So you go 1, 2, 3. And so that's the three tools that I wanted to teach you. And this is what, how you can get from the original footage to something like this. If you have any more questions, feel free to let me know, and I'll be certainly happy to point you in the right direction or help out where I can. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next time.